Hey guys, Bradley Benner again, Mindset Mastery. This is actually week 6, but I'm just doing Q&A from people that have been following this series. The next question, this was the second question from somebody that submitted them, and this one, I'm going to read the full question, but the essence of the question is this: how do I overcome procrastination? Great question. Something I've struggled with. I still struggle with it today even, but I've developed ways or discovered ways to fight procrastination, okay, to almost eliminate it entirely, or at least to severely reduce it. All right, so the entire question is, second thing I find is procrastination. I have a habit of setting things aside with full intent of doing them. Then I find myself never getting back there for one reason or another. I'm a very busy person, and I do have a lot of things going on in the day's time, so if procrastination, it is procrastination that's my problem, or time management maybe. I delay doing things many times that I know I need to make happen, yet I can't seem to bring myself around to get them done. I also find myself holding back on decisions that I want to check on someone else's thoughts or ideas. Hold back because I'm not sure of the outcome that's going to happen. Is this a form of procrastination as well as management of time? Your thoughts. Okay, great question once again. So, procrastination, how do I overcome procrastination? Well, in the previous question, this same gentleman was asking about how he focuses his mind on the more important tasks because he feels like he's being pulled in 10 different directions. Well, I can understand where procrastination comes in then, because if you are being spread too thin because you've overcommitted yourself, which I have a real problem doing that. I overcommit myself all the time. And what happens is if you're doing too many things, you never do any of them well. Right? Think about that. If you do too many things, you never do any of them well. So you're better off on really narrowing your focus down into just a few things. Figure out what your highest priority tasks are. What are going to move the needle, so to speak? What are going to have the most significant impact on your life, your business, whatever area it is that these tasks are that you're trying to accomplish in your life, right? So it could be life, business, spiritual, relationship, health, fitness, all these different things that it could be. Whatever they are, you need to identify what tasks or activities, what do you need to accomplish or should you accomplish in those areas that are going to have the most significant impact. Focus on those. Everything else, forget about. Right? We all have intentions of doing a million things all the time, right? We have the greatest intentions. He says specifically, I have full intention of doing these things. But the problem is intentions don't mean shit without action, right? Think about it. You could intend all day long, but unless you take action, nothing gets done. It's just a thought, right? At that point. So the idea here is to identify what is truly important to you. And I mentioned in the previous video that answer to how do I get focused is to identify what your core values are. What means the most to you, right? What is the most significant things in your life? What do you want? So what do you want to be remembered as, right? We kind of talked about that in the previous video, so I'm not going to go into that. But so how do you overcome procrastination? Well, number one is, once you've identified what your highest values are, you start to plan around those and start asking yourself, before you commit to anything, is this going to move me closer to my highest core values? Or is this going to pull me away from those? Is this going to move me in the direction of the goals that I've already set and I want to achieve? Or is this going to distract me and pull me away from those, right? Once you start to identify your top level priorities, guys, you can start to ignore all the other shit, right? All the other crap that, there's a ton of things out there competing for our time and attention all the time. And if you let other people will oftentimes monopolize your time. They'll usurp, am I saying that right? They'll usurp your time, right? People will take advantage of, and if you give somebody an inch, they'll take a mile type thing, or give somebody an inch, they'll take a yard, whatever. That kind of a cliche, that's absolutely true. So the idea though is, if you have your highest values in mind at all times, then it's easy to say no to a lot of those things, right? And so you don't feel like you're being pulled in 10 different directions. And procrastination often stems from being overwhelmed, right? Often, not always, but often. Now, sometimes you may have full intentions to do something, and yet you procrastinate on it because maybe it's a difficult task, right? So Brian Tracy has a great book called Eat That Frog. In case you're unaware of what it is, it's a book on overcoming procrastination. And Eat That Frog is all about, Mark Twain was once said, apparently at some point Mark Twain said, if you woke up in the morning and ate a big ugly frog, you could go through the rest of the day knowing that that was probably the worst thing that's going to happen for that entire day, right? The worst of the day is over. So in other words, eat that frog. If you woke up and the first thing you did in the morning was to eat a big ugly frog, then you could go through the rest of the day knowing that the worst part of your day was over. So with procrastination and the Eat That Frog method, as far as time management and goal setting and achieving and stuff is concerned, is to identify what are those tasks or activities, the things that you want to do that are going to move the needle the most. What is going to give you the most results? And do those first. Put those at the top of your to-do list. So instead of saying like I fully have intentions on doing all these different things, like example, we're in the internet marketing business, okay? I'm in the internet marketing business. Most of the people watching this Mindset series are probably also in the internet marketing business. That's probably why you know to come check out these videos, right? We get hit with shiny objects all the time. We call it shiny object syndrome, right? SOS. We're all the time, because we're in the marketing business, we're getting hit with marketing offers on new tools, new software, new training, new applications, new whatever, new money-making methods. And the grass is always greener on the other side of the pasture, guys. Think about it. Every single time, and I'm a marketer, I'm a total sucker for good marketing. When I go through a good sales letter, or I watch a good sales video, a video sales letter, VSL, or anything like that, guys, if it's been done well, and if all the copywriting, traditions have been hit properly, then I've got my credit card in hand by the end of the sales letter or the end of the sales video, right? Like I'm ready to buy. And that's because it's good marketing, and I'm a marketer, so I'm susceptible to good marketing. But yet I always think about, and guys, I've pissed so much money away on money-making opportunities and softwares and programs and trainings and all these different things that I see it and I go, wow, that's awesome. I'm gonna make time to do that. And then I buy the product or the software or whatever. Sometimes I spend thousands of dollars on this crap, and then I never get to it. Why? Because it doesn't actually fit into my existing business model or my existing business plan, or I just don't have the damn time to do it, right? Because I'm already overextended. And why am I overextended? Because I chase too many damn opportunities like that, right? I'm sure a lot of you can relate. So what I found over the last few months of going through this whole mindset and self-discovery series and all this kind of stuff is really how to learn how to start prioritizing and how to focus on only the things that are truly. So another question to ask yourself again is, before making a purchase on products of any sort, and I have to do this. I literally do this every time now. By the time I get to the end of that sales letter, first of all, I try to avoid webinars now. I try to avoid the spam mails that I know are internet marketing products offers. I try to avoid all that stuff. I've unsubscribed from literally hundreds of email lists over the last few months, and I'm constantly now going through my email accounts, and when another promotional email comes up, I go seek out the unsubscribe link and I unsubscribe immediately. There's a select few people that I still intentionally say subscribe to, but I started trying to eliminate those messages from even appearing in my inbox, because I know I often will open up my inbox, my email inbox, and start going through some of those emails. Next thing you know, I'm caught up in a 15-minute sales video or an hour and a half long webinar that I really have no time to be viewing to begin with, right? And then I end up a lot of times purchasing the damn product because I got sucked into the excitement of the opportunity, and I have full intentions of doing something with it, but I don't even have the time to do it to begin with. So it ends up getting stuck on my hard drive, or better, sometimes I don't even end up logging in after purchasing the damn thing, so I don't even download it. And it's out there in the ether, and I've pissed money away, and I've lost time in chasing something that I'm never going to actually do. And so I've started to learn over the last several months, and especially, is to ask myself, first first of all, I try to eliminate the interruption altogether by just not opening those emails and trying to unsubscribe. But if I do happen to open an email and I click one of the links that takes me to a sales page or to a webinar, if God forbid I get caught up in that, and I do pull my credit card out because I'm at the end of the video or the sales letter now, and there's the big buy button, and there's the scarcity timer. It's gonna, you know, this offer ends in 3 hours, and then, you know, it's closed forever, and all that kind of shit. I usually have my credit card out by that point, and I'm ready to go. And then I actually take the time to think about it. Wait a minute, is this actually going to move me closer to my goals, or is this going to distract me and take me away from my goals, right? Or prevent me or slow me down from achieving my goals? And that very act, that simple act of doing that, has really reduced the amount of spend in both time and money that I would otherwise have spent. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing that you can do, besides, you know, just prioritizing your tasks, identify your core values first, so that you can make decisions based upon those core values, right? And if it doesn't fit into what your core values show, that paradigm, that lens of what your principled center is, which we talked about that in a previous video, so I'm not going to rehash that. But if you make your decisions through that paradigm or that lens of a principled center, what are your core values? You keep that in mind when you go to make the decision, then you'll decide that, hey, this is either going to help me to, you know, help me in pursuit of that goal, or it's not. Okay, and so you can eliminate or say no or delegate. If it's something you can't say no to, then figure out a way to delegate it. Figure out a way to still say yes, but find somebody else to do it. Outsource it, give it to a family member, I don't care what. Just get it out of your life as soon as you can, so that you can focus on the stuff that is part of your principal center, your higher core values, right? Number two, those decisions, now that you've started to make better decisions on how you spend your time and your energy, next thing you do is start creating a daily plan. How to overcome procrastination. For me, I do a daily planner. I use the Best Self Journal. I absolutely love it. I plan my day every single day now. It's just the first thing that I do. I do a 10-minute guided guided meditation with the Headspace app. I do 10 minutes of prayer to say thanks for all the things that I've been blessed with. Then I spend the next 10 to 20 minutes in my Best Self Journal planning my day. And I always put my frog items right at the very top of the list. And I write my goal down every day, and that's very, very key as well. How do you overcome procrastination? Well, if you distill all the stuff that you got going on in your life down to just the most important goals, just the most important things in your life, you should only have a handful of goals, or maybe 1 to 3 goals in every area of your life at max. You probably can't handle any more than that. Then write those goals. As far as professionally, let's just talk about professionally for right now. I use my Best Self Journal mainly for business purposes and for my profession. So every single day I write down what my goal is, my overarching goal for my business. Okay, so let's say it's a 12-week goal. So it's a quarterly goal, which is really 13 weeks. So let's say it's a quarterly goal. And what do I want to accomplish in the next quarter? Well, for basically 13 weeks, right? There's 52 weeks divided by 4 is really 13 weeks. So for 13 weeks, every single day I write down what my 13-week goal is, what my quarterly goal is. So I have a goal statement, and I write that down every day. And the Best Self Journal has a place for that. That's why I love it, because it's just so convenient to use. But every single day I have to literally, physically write down what my goal statement is. And so that automatically brings it up in my mind, and it makes me think about that. So, and then I'm looking at the rest of the Best Self Journal planner, and I've got now 3 tasks. There's a section for 3 goals or 3 tasks that I want to accomplish today. That should be moving you towards that goal that you just wrote above that. So whatever your quarterly goal is, you should break down, like, what are 3 really important tasks? What are your frog tasks, right? What are your frog tasks that you can do that day that are going to have the most significant impact on moving you towards that goal that you just wrote down? And then write those 3 things down with the most important, the biggest, usually the toughest or the most difficult, or just usually, guys, the tasks that we procrastinate on are the ones that are either the most difficult or the ones that we just don't like to do. Okay, that's usually them. And so oftentimes they're the biggest tasks, the tasks that will have the most impact or the most effect on our results, right? And so if we actually take those items and make those the frog items, the ones that we eat first, right? The tasks that we accomplish first, then we get it out of the way. That was the most difficult or the most unenjoyable task of the day, and everything else will seem easy by comparison. Okay, does that make sense? So that's another way to eliminate procrastination, because if you, and lastly, and this seems really obvious, but how do you eliminate procrastination? You just take action. Guys, procrastination is a habit that you've developed because you've made excuses as to why you don't need to do something now and why you can do it later. And over time, you've developed the habit of procrastination. Well, taking action is a habit that can be developed. You can replace procrastination with massive action. And it's just a matter of, you've got to start, okay? And so the fact that you're aware of the fact that you're aware of your procrastination means that you are already, you're one step closer to overcoming it. Now, the next thing to do is start taking action, right? Massive action is a habit that can be developed that eliminates procrastination. Those are just a couple of the tools that I mentioned that can help you. Focus, which we talked about in the previous video, your previous question, identifying what your core values are, your principled centers are, so that you can start making decisions that only move you towards that principled center, those core values. Everything else you should ignore and eliminate. Number 3 is start, I also encourage the meditation thing, but number 3 is also to start planning your day, okay? And making decisions based upon only action items, activities, tasks that are going to move you closer to your goals that you've identified previously. And then always select the biggest, baddest, ugliest frog or task of the day and make that your top first, the top of the priority, the top of the list. Make that top priority or the top of the list. Make that the first thing that you accomplish, and don't stop until it's done for the day, because then everything else will happen a lot easier. And you'll find a sense of power, empowerment coming from completing these tasks that you would have otherwise procrastinated on. And what happens is you start to develop a habit of action, and procrastination virtually disappears. Okay, and so that's just a couple of things that I thought I would share with you guys on how to overcome procrastination. One last thing would be something else to help you overcome procrastination is announce stuff to people, to where you become, it's so easy, guys, to disappoint yourself, to make commitments to yourself and let yourself down. That's also a bad habit, guys. That's you develop a habit of not having integrity. Does that make sense? If you make commitments to yourself and you don't follow through, then you start to develop the habit of knowing that you're not going to make commitments. So then when you make commitments to yourself, you really don't have any intention of actually completing them, because you have developed the habit of never completing your commitments. Does that make sense? And so because of that, something else that I found to be effective is to announce publicly stuff that you're going to do. Tell other people that you plan on doing this, or you're going to do this by this date or that or whatever, because now I found it harder to disappoint other people than it is to disappoint myself. In other words, it's easier for me to not follow through with something when the only person that I committed to doing it was myself. Whereas if I tell other people, like students, for example, there's been many times in just my internet marketing career as a teacher that I've committed to doing projects publicly, specifically for the only reason that to hold me, that my members, our students, would hold me accountable. That I committed to them that I was going to do this thing, whatever it was, build this project, build this marketing campaign, this website, whatever, so that, and I committed to them so that I would be responsible to having it done for them. Because if it was left up to me, I'd find all these other excuses to do other stuff instead, instead of doing that one project. Whereas, by committing to my students, I've said publicly, and I want to be accountable, okay, I'm going to do this, because otherwise they're all going to think I'm a fool or that I can't be trusted and blah, blah, blah. So that's one other thing that I could say to help you with procrastination, is maybe commit publicly, or to family or whatever. Find an accountability partner. There's another idea. Find an accountability partner, somebody that's going to hold you accountable. So I know that was a lot to cover for one question, but very, very good question. Procrastination is something that I've struggled with. I still struggle with, again, outside of work. There are things that I procrastinate. I mean, I don't like to, I don't like to do house chores and stuff all that often. So I procrastinate on that stuff sometimes. And then, it gets to a point where I'm like, that's it. I'm spending the whole day on Sunday or whatever cleaning the house, and then I'll go through all that motion and stuff like that. But the idea is to build the habit. What are your priorities? Okay? Identify your core values, figure out what's important to you, make all your decisions based upon those values. If something isn't going to move you closer to those ultimate, those higher core values of yours, don't do them. Say no. Just don't do it, or find somebody else to do it for you. Delegate the work. Then once you start to just work on developing those action items, whatever, that are going to move you closer to your goals, then prioritize them. And then always put your frog item at the top of the list. Work on that until it's done. The biggest, nastiest thing on the list, make sure that gets done first, because that gives you a sense of empowerment that will help you to kind of like barrel roll through all the rest of the tasks or activities on that list much, much quicker, because you've started to develop that confidence and that feeling of massive action. So this is Bradley Benner with Mindset Mastery. If you have any questions, go to bradleybenner.com, click on the button which will take you to a Google form, submit your questions. I'll be happy to answer them. We'll see you in the next video.